Hey, dig it. It's really a groove to be here. I'm not selling you anything, and I'm not telling you what my gazillion favorite LPs are. I'm just asking you to listen to what I'm tossing out there, and you don't have to love what I'm talking about. Just put it into your mind's eye for future reference. This, my fellow passengers in space and time, is the return to the Perfumed Gardens with me, your fellow traveler and spaced out captain, Rick Strange. This being my first trip into the great abyss of the 60s music is not the end all, but another path onto the golden road to unlimited devotion. Having been there to experience the great years of the beat boom, the mods, the garage bands, and psychedelia, I thought maybe I could add a few tabs and dose you with a different twist to the already many thoughts of this mania in music. I don't just collect to possess, but I obtain to play these sounds over and over and groove to them as they need to be played. I truly don't want to sound too far out or above anyone, but I'm going to offer my opinion too. And I've been able to also have experienced the fire of the human beings live. I mean, they were killer. The great harmonies of Moby Grape, the overload of Iron Butterfly, and I saw Led Zeppelin's first American tour. Those were some far out days indeed. Indeed. So instead of creating a greatest hits channel, I hope to create a listening station where you can hone in on and learn about what's out there in the musical stratosphere. I'm also offering my opinion, but we'll play these tunes so you can make your own choices is what to search for. Truly, truly, if we fellow travelers are gonna keep the whole record collecting trip alive, then we as new fans, old collectors, or just passing buyers need to have a service choice, a sonic choice I should say, as to what's on these records. Dig it? You know, I mean, really. Just because I don't freak out over someone's holy grail doesn't mean I don't like it that much, or that some other like-minded freak might really dig the whole thing, man. Hey, just spend your money wisely and let's keep vinyl alive. Well, you know, since we are broadcasting from the airwaves of San Francisco, it's only fair that we start with a local favorite, the Quicksilver Messenger Service. Over the past few years, there have been two other early recordings from the '66 period, I believe, that were pressed on 180 vinyl, and one was from the Matrix and the other one was from the Fillmore. Now dig it. It was great playing, but a real bummer of recording quality, and that's the problem with the stuff from that period. You were either recording from the board, which may or may not have been too good, or you were lucky enough to have a reel-to-reel out in the audience and you were doing your best to lump all that stuff around and make it happen. Well, anyway, this record I'm talking about was done in 1966. It was done at the Fillmore, and it was recorded on the 5th, or I should say, let's see, the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th of 1966. The show was taken from the recording is taken from the second show on the 5th. Quicksilver was opening up for Muddy Waters at that time. And the band still was a five-piece band with Jim Murray, who was playing rhythm guitar, but he was also doing vocals, and he played harmonica, and they claim percussion, so I'm guessing tambourine, because I can't make anything else out in there. I mean, you know, whatever, dude. It was just a groove for everybody. I just, over 8 months ago, let's go back here. Just in 8 months, or less, give or take a week, they were going to play at the Monterey Pop Festival. And that was going to set the stage for where they were going to go to from there. So, on this gig, they were doing more of a traditional blues thing, you know, how should I call it, a traditional folk blues, kind of like the historically great recordings that Lightning Hopkins did, or Muddy Waters had done prior to doing any heavy recording, or even Howlin' Wolf, who's, you know, I mean, that guy is the end all. So anyway, Quicksilver was doing their thing that night, and they were playing in that vein. They weren't doing an overabundance of a dual guitaring at that time. It still hadn't happened. Quicksilver paid a tribute to Muddy that night, and with a couple of cool versions of Hoochie Coochie Man, and a totally blow out the doors version of I Got My Mojo Working. For me, I got my groove on with Smokestack Lightning, my all-time favorite these guys did. But let's try a tune that they were working on that was going to wind up on their first album, and it was called Acapulco Gold. Now, don't expect what you found out on the first LP, because it's a little bit rough, but it's still cooking, man. So let's try it out now. Okay, so anyway, this is the cover. It's a double LP. You know, it's got an insert that's kind of cool. It shows the original poster. That song, well, this whole double LP was done on November 5th of '66. It's on the Purple Pyramid label, which is a subsidiary of, I believe, Cleopatra Records. And it was done in 2014, so it's been out there on the shelves for a while. So maybe you want to do yourself a favor and check it out. The blue stuff on it is some pretty righteous stuff, and I dig it. You know, I dig it. So there you have that. Well, the Quicksilver LP leads us into the next trip, which is a band called the 20th Century Zoo. The LP was called Thunder on a Clear Day, and it was on the Vault label. They were originally called the Bittersweet from 1966 to 1967. Their only guitarist at that time was a guy named Farley who played rhythm. The original band came from Phoenix, Arizona, and the first lineup played a folk rock vibration, you know, consistent with what the Byrds were doing at that time, but their local following was pretty intense, and they opened for bands like Canned Heat, Blue Cheer, and the Byrds came through town. The Byrds even influenced them more heavily with their tunes, and they started even building a bigger following. Bittersweet did, locally, where they did multiple 45s. Let's see, I'm thinking about it. From 66 they did the 45s, yeah. After finishing the last of, I believe, 3 of them, they decided to split for LA and ply their trade down there. While playing in LA, another band was found to have the same name as Bittersweet. So as with the Fates, they were given a suggestion by an audience member to call the band 20th Century Zoo. Can you dig that? I mean, how far out is that, man? By that time, when they got down to LA, they added another guitarist, and his name was Paul Skip Ladd, and that is what got things in motion. As the Zoo, they did 2 45s. One of them, which kind of became considered a proto-punk tune from '67. It was called You Don't Remember. It was released on a compilation some years back. It escapes me right now. You know how that works, man. Too many dead brain cells. But anyway, I'll dig that up for you. With their newfound sound, which turned out to be a real heavy blues riff, overdriven scene, they started to really cook, and Vault Records picked them up in '68, and they started recording their first and only LP. You know, look at dude, man. Let me tell you, these guys come on strong and heavy. The overdriven solos were like the Blue Cheer were putting out at that time, and so let's dig it a little. And here's a tune called Rainbow off of that album. Okay, that's a pretty whacked out cut. Moving on with this one, Bullfrog on side 1 is their claim to fame as a 45 they released, but it was a cut down version that they put out in '69. It's a very reflective piece of that period when blues rock was really starting to show. It was popping up mostly coming from England with Jeff Beck's album Truth and Zeppelin's first LP. Once again, the Brits were getting a leg up and trying to steal the show. Well, any which way, you should take the trip and check these 2 LPs out. I hope this small sample of what we did today gives you a taste of what I'm after and where I might be traveling. It really blows my mind when the weirdness cranks up. I trip on all of this, be it garage, psychedelic ramblings, traditional folk blues, or hard rock. Just bear with me and maybe we can all discover new pathways into our minds. One last thing. I heard this week that Peter Tork passed from the planet. I was introduced to him through Sam Andrew from Big Brother and the Holding Company at a gig many moons ago. I found Peter to be a very gentle soul and a very, very talented musician. Go lightly, my brother. So, until the twain shall meet, we are all one.